Welcome kindreds, it's Jessica TheStoryWitch and this is my bullet journal setup for July. I was a bit kind of stuck for a theme this month. I didn't really have any kind of major inspiration, but what I decided and settled on in the end is that, like, with July being the kind of half year point, and this year is a death year for me card wise, and a depth year for me, and so I've just used images that resonate with that for me. So I've used a lot of like butterflies, dragonflies, skulls, and yeah, it kind of turned out okay. I wasn't as happy with it as I am some months, but I've done things a little bit differently this month as well to make it kind of less time consuming. I'm finding as the weather generally is nicer, although it's been very wet in Wales in June, but I'm feeling like I want to be outside more and I'm doing less journaling. So even though I'm doing things like that were on my habit tracker, I have been not actually filling in the tracker. So it's not that I'm not doing the things, it's just that I'm not kind of filling it in. So I wanted to kind of pare it back even more. I feel like I've been saying that in every single bullet journal video this year. But yeah, I've really taken it back to basics. I'm only going to be tracking 2 habits, which you'll see later on anyway. So I did my title page as usual, and then I go straight into my calendar page also as usual, and I haven't really changed up very much about how I do this apart from using the colours. I kind of went with mostly grey, but I did use like a kind of peachy pink. It's one of the Arteza brush pens, which are a bit of a faff to use, to be honest, because unlike the Tombows or the usual kind of brush pen markers, which actually have they're kind of just like a long felt pen rather than them being an actual brush. The Arteza brush pens, they're called real brush pens because it is like an actual real brush, so it's more like you're kind of painting. So it is a slightly different technique, and to be honest I probably need to practice with it a little bit more because it is different. So yeah, I went with that bit mainly because I like the colour and I wanted to use that colour in the journal. You do have to be a little bit careful with the Arteza pens, they don't bleed in the Leuchtturm, which can be a little bit annoying, but the range of colours that they come in is really lovely, and they are a lot more affordable than the Tombows. So yeah, that's something to take into consideration too. So I'm just setting up my calendar the same as I always do over the 2 pages, and just because of the way the days fell, that's how I ended up with the with July going up the side rather than along the top as a title, but I don't mind that when that happens. This page for me is mainly about function rather than about aesthetics, although obviously I did add some like washi and some stickers and things like that to make it look a little bit more appealing. I realised that I'm watching this back that I didn't rub out any of my guidelines while I was filming, but I will rub those out before I do the final flip through, so it will kind of be properly finished by then. It's a really roasting hot day today, which is like whenever I'm doing the bullet journal videos, it always seems to be a boiling hot day, and so I'm trying to find like a space to do this which is not like directly in the sunlight, because then it is just boiling, and also the light is just crazy. But yeah, I hope that you can see what I'm doing here and it's not too bright. I've moved my desk away from the skylights in the attic so that hopefully the light's a little bit more consistent. And yeah, that's it for my calendar page. I put my moon stamps on as usual. Everyone always asks me about the moon stamps, where I get them from, and I bought them from an Etsy store like probably 2 years ago or something now, and that store isn't actually making them anymore, but a couple of people have told me that there are other Etsy sellers who are making them, so if you just look on Etsy you might be able to find those. I'll try and list everything else that I used underneath this video so you know all the supplies that I used. I tend to use the same sort of things each time. So what I'm doing here now is setting up my field guide for the month, and for the last couple of months I've been doing this in a collage style rather than in just like a list style, which is what I was using at the start of the year. My field guide is like a kind of conglomeration of all of the things that I can expect to see around me in July. So things like the weather, nature, flora, fauna, astrology, astronomy, I guess, rather than astrology. And so I like to have all that together in one place. I've changed it up a little bit this time. I found last month that I'd grayscaled it, and it wasn't actually as kind of enticing for me. I didn't really look back or check back in with it that much. So what I've decided to do this month was still to do the collage and include things that I will be seeing, you know, in that kind of collage effect. But as you'll see in a little bit as well, I also have written down some dates and some things to look out for. So I'm hoping that this is going to kind of be the best of both worlds, and it still kind of looks visually appealing, but also has the kind of written information that I want. So, you know, the kind of reminder, because things like specific dates for festivals and things like that, it's useful to have those written down as an actual date as well. So yeah, I did use my stencils. I watched a video by Shadow Moon Tarot. She has a really gorgeous, very precise and beautiful bullet journal, and she was using her stencils, and I was like, oh, I've got those stencils as well. She's like, I've never seen you use them. And I remembered, yeah, you know, I've had these stencils a couple of years now probably, and I do use them occasionally. I sometimes use them in like my tarot journaling and things like that, because I find that's kind of a cool way to get the cards and stuff like that when I'm doing it. But I realised I haven't been using them in my setup, so I thought I would bust those out and use them in my setup for July. So yeah, shout out to Shadow Moon Tarot, and I'll link her channel down below as well, so you can check out some of her bullet journal videos. In fact, I think she might have only made one bullet journal video, but it's definitely well worth watching, and hopefully she will be making more in the future as well. So yeah, just kind of putting the finishing touches on that. And then this next spread I wasn't super happy with, if I'm honest. It was kind of, it's very functional and not very pretty, but it is my kind of to-do list, my goals list for July. I find July to be a kind of pivot point for the goals list, because I look back to I don't actually fill my goals in during this video. I will do that over this weekend now, because it's not actually July yet as I'm talking here now. So I will go back and check out my annual goals that I listed in my original setup that I did back at the end of December, and kind of just take stock of where I am and how I am progressing on the things that were important to me then. But I don't do that in a kind of like beat myself up kind of way. As you'll know, if you watch my videos, you know I'm not very into that. I use it as a kind of informative thing, so that I can sort of think, I can see where I've shifted. I can see where my priorities now are not the same as where my priorities were at the start of the year. Things change, and I allow myself to change with that. That said, I do also, you know, think, right, are these things actually important to me? What are the things on my list that I need to tick off? And I do try and make sure that I do those. And this month, because the new moon falls so closely after the start of the month, I decided to include not the full moon, the new moon, the dark moon. I decided to include my spread. I don't usually share my moon spreads, but it's something that if you're interested in, I will hopefully do a little bit more of that. Maybe not just make the plan with me, but I'll do more like specific witchy kind of spreads that I use during the month, but then I don't tend to show them afterwards once I filled them in, because they can be quite personal, as I'm sure you'll imagine. So yeah, I'm going to try and include more of that kind of thing, so it's not just like the same old thing month after month of me doing my setup. Yeah, and you know, it's kind of basic. It is just the outline, and I will be filling this in. I'll be doing some journaling. I'll be making some new moon intention setting, and kind of some wishes, and that's what I will fill in on these pages. So here is my finished setup for July. Like I said, I wasn't like super happy with how it turned out, but I know because of the spreads that I've included that it will be functional. I'm going to go back in later and fill in the deck, my card, my goddess, stone, planet and animal, and everything for the month. I just use different tarot and oracle decks to draw that information. You can see that in previous videos. And then my field guide is kind of cute. There's still a little bit more space, so I'll be able to fill in some more little bits and bobs of things that are going on. I really like how the colours in this kind of all tie together. I thought that was, it kind of looks kind of 1970s to me, probably because of this like wallpapery stuff that I use as part of the collage. And then yeah, I'm going to put my July goals here. I'll be referencing back to my long-term goals, which are now escaping me. Here, what I said I was going to do at the start of the year, and just kind of reflecting on that and filling that in. I've got my habit tracker, which has literally only got 2 things on there, and I'm hoping that by having it here with my goals, it's going to make it all kind of more you know, I won't be able to avoid filling it in. And then a page for my field notes. I've been really enjoying filling in these. I'm finding a lot of the time my observations are to do with the weather rather than so much like the animals and things I've seen. So sometimes the birds, I guess, but it's more like things I observe on walks, with some of the things that are in the almanacs that I use. I did a video about these as well. I used the Leah Lendert's almanac and this one by Springwatch as well, to inform my kind of what I'm expecting to see. But like a lot of that is specific to certain areas of the UK, or you know, you have to go to certain habitats like the seaside or the rivers or things like that. And while I do that, I like especially the river because there's one very close by, it's not an everyday thing. So most of the time I'm like, oh, it's very windy today, the wind is coming from the north, I saw this bird, you know, this kind of thing. So but I think that's still going to be cool. And then yes, here is my dark moon spread, which is something I don't normally include in these setups, just with the date and time, and obviously it is a solar eclipse as well, so that's going to be something, an added kind of flavour to this dark moon. And here I will do some journaling. I may well use more pages as well, like often you can't fit everything in just on one page, so sometimes I do this as a flap so I can write underneath the picture. I like to have like a kind of picture as well because I just think it looks nice. So yeah, and that is it. That is my finished setup. I'm kind of feeling like I'm just doing the same sort of thing each month, and that perhaps it's not interesting for you guys to be seeing this. So let me know if you'd like me to continue to share my plan with me, or whether you prefer me to do like more specifically kind of witchy spreads or tarot spreads or anything like that really. Like I said, I've got some spreads that I already use, and I'm wanting to kind of change things up and use some new spreads too. So yeah, let me know what you'd like. Thank you so much for watching. Warmest blessings, and I will see you very soon.